My sister has this new arrogant boyfriend who came to our Thanksgiving dinner and decided to make his little entitled self right at home. Well, for some reason, my father didn't even care about his attitude, but me and Mom, oh boy, we were not going to take this. I'm 24 male, and my sister, 26 female, let's call her Emma, started dating a new guy, Kevin, about a month ago. She apparently had been crushing on him for ages and came home screeching and squealing to announce the news as soon as they officially got together. She spent the whole following month gushing about what an amazing guy he is, and how great their, quote, chemistry is. We didn't meet him until Thanksgiving, so we took her word for it and assumed he really was a great guy. Her exes were mostly okay, so this one must be at least as good, or so we thought. It was all good and great and adorable until Thanksgiving night. Emma insisted that we invited her new boyfriend, so Mom and Dad gave in despite their daughter's relationship with the guy being fairly new, and the dinner being her very first meeting with the new family, which was a huge risk to take. And boy, was the risk not worth taking. Since we were going to have a new guest at our table, and it was someone my sister described as the most amazing man she'd ever met, my family made sure that everything would be perfect, even asking my sister if Kevin had any food allergies or preferences so they'd know how to cook it. She said he wasn't a picky guy, so we just went with the usual menu and hoped he'd like it. Dinner time arrives, the table was set, and it was then just a matter of waiting for the guests of honor to arrive. Well, I guess you know what happened, don't you? We wait 20 minutes. Not there. Emma calls him, looking slightly embarrassed but trying to act naturally on the phone when he hasn't picked up. After she hung up, she looked even more embarrassed while explaining that he was so busy that he forgot about dinner. Oh well, it can happen to everyone. I'll be the first to admit that I sometimes forget really important appointments, meetings, and even deadlines when I'm overlooked. Still, it was annoying and we had to wait another 40 minutes or so for him to arrive, making him around a whole hour late. No big deal, I thought. He just probably didn't live close by, right? Or traffic was a bit slow that day, or maybe both. Well, I was wrong about the first and probably about the second, as since his behavior clearly showed that he didn't care and maybe didn't even want to be there in the first place. The dude came in and just coldly greeted everyone without an apology for even being late. I might sound a little nitpicky and salty about eating late, but I'm mostly mad about all of that now that I made an enemy out of him. Anyways, Emma led him to the dinner table while he followed, and he just sat and started filling his plate. No grace said. And the last part did not bother me that much. The dude could have a different religion, or none at all. There's no issue with that, to be honest. But the way he acted like he owned the place kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Still, I tried to let it go. Maybe it was just his natural behavior and he wasn't actually aware of traditions. Or something along the lines of, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and see how it goes. I thought Emma is not a liar, I thought. The rest of us got seated while the other guy was just munching on bread rolls by himself. Mom asked him whether he wanted to say grace with us, and he says, okay. Which surprised me, but I gotta say that I appreciate the effort. Once that was done, we started filling our plates and enjoying the family dinner with our special guest. Well, the dinner was apparently not up to the special guest standards. He made a face while cutting into the turkey and bluntly asked my mother how long we cooked it for, because it could have seriously enjoyed some more time in the oven. Mom nervously laughed and apologized, saying that she was so overwhelmed with the preparations, which are true, that she must have set the timer wrong. Not true. His question caught me off guard as well, and I made sure that he saw my frown. He acted as if nothing wrong happened and turned his attention to me, asking what my job is. Well, I just so happen to be a freelance content writer. I write stuff for blog posts mostly, and well, that kind of stuff. I insist on the fact that I absolutely love this job and it isn't something I'm doing while waiting for better. Sure, I'm not making the big bucks yet, but I'm sticking with it and not changing my mind until I'm where I want to be. I told him that I'm a freelance content writer. He blinked a few times before going, a what? That's okay, not everyone knows what a freelance or content creator is, let alone those two words put together, so I just tried to convince myself that he wasn't trying to be offensive, and explained my job into entails. That's when I got the confirmation that this dude is indeed a rude moron. He laughed right in my face and smugly said, "So, does that mean you don't have an actual job?" Dude, you should find something quickly. You look too old to be playing with your future. At this point, I see red, but I tried to remain calm. I'm the type of guy who gets emotional quickly, but nearly always internalizes it. I explained that it was a real job, and that many people are successfully doing it. His only reply was, "Oh, bro, don't trust those TikTok gurus. Find a real job." He then lost interest in me and started criticizing the food again. Much to my mother's embarrassment, my sister did not seem to mind his behavior at all. She just stares at him with these hardy eyes during the whole meal. Love not only makes you blind, but also deaf, apparently. My plan was to put up with him until he went home, then have a serious talk with my sister about his behavior. Well, I failed the patience test. He kept making jabs at my job, which I tolerated to the best of my abilities. He also criticized the decorations, my cousin's fashion choices, and pretty much everything he could see. However, it wasn't until he started telling my mom that she should at least cover her dark circles better on such a festive night. That's the point I absolutely lost it. My mother always had dark circles due to a natural lack of fat around her eyes, according to what the doctor said, and it's not even a big deal. She's also been insecure about them for a long time and is slowly starting to accept them, but has not fully managed to love them. So, you can imagine how this comment affected her, and she just apologized while her whole face gets red. Yeah. She looked like she was about to cry, so I stepped in and told him that if he was going to act like a giant a-hole, we might as well just have him stuffed and use him as the turkey. Well, it didn't sit well with either him nor my sister. She was actually the first to get mad, saying, "What's your problem?" Kevin just told me that I'll never go far if I can't handle criticism, and that it's probably the reason why I can't get a real big boy job. I told him that unconstructive critiquing is not a real job either. Kevin said that if it was going to be like that, he'd just go home. Thankfully, he meant it and actually got out of the house. Good riddance, I thought before receiving a slap in the face. Surprisingly, it wasn't from my sister, who was now crying, but from my father. For context, Emma has always been a daddy's girl. Dad absolutely adores her, especially since she's the firstborn and, quote, the one who made him a father first. He doesn't exactly dislike me, but he definitely puts her first nearly all the time. Still, his slap came as a huge shock to me. Dad yelled at me for ruining Thanksgiving dinner and probably Emma's new relationship as well. I tried to defend myself by telling him that it was not my fault her new boyfriend is an entitled jerk. But he just yelled at me to shut up and that I'm the entitled one. Then he went to comfort my sister, and let's be real, that hurt more than the slap did. Thankfully, Mom came to comfort me with a hug and a thank you. It really helped me feel better, even though I was still hurt by Dad's reaction. Despite Dad's attempt at consoling her, Emma was crying and screaming that her relationship is ruined, all because of me. At some point, she even ran to the door while screaming Kevin's name, but my father caught her and held her back. You'd think Kevin was going off to war or something. Since I, quote, ruined Thanksgiving and Emma's new relationship, the drive back home from my paternal grandparents' house was silent. aside from Emma and Dad glaring daggers directly at me. So, Dad was through the rearview mirror, and of course, Mom still looking as if she was going to cry. We get home, and Emma runs straight to her room, slamming the door so hard that I swear I felt the ground shake. Dad yelled at me to go to my room as well. Mom tried to calm him down and reason with him, but he ignored her and yelled at me again. In my room now, trying to keep my cool after tonight's events, I already can't understand why Emma would date a jerk like Kevin and defend him after he pretty much insulted Mother. But I have an even harder time understanding why Dad would defend him. Granted, he loves Emma, but I thought he also loved Mom. I mean, he married her, for crying out loud. I don't believe I'm in the wrong here, and I don't want to ever apologize to Kevin. Still, am I the a-hole for snapping at my sister's boyfriend for making a comment about my mom's look during Thanksgiving dinner? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So this story is so crazy. Can you imagine the entitlement of Kevin? Guys, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss any daily videos. And just so you know, today's story has 3 updates, and things get even crazier. Update number 1's hopping into it now. First of all, a big thanks to everyone who voted not the a-hole. I'm glad to know there's people who agree with me, and it makes me feel a bit less like the bad guy in the story. Especially after what happened after that night. The morning after Thanksgiving incident, Mom and Dad and I woke up and went to get breakfast. There was obvious tension in the air amongst the 3 of us, especially Dad and I. I was the first to finish eating and do my own dishes, then go get some work done despite my bad mood making. I just wanted to stay in bed all day and sulk the day away. I'd completed an order and was halfway through another one when someone starts banging on my bedroom door. I was so startled by it that I accidentally elbowed my laptop while turning towards the door. Thankfully, it took the shock like a champ. The angry banging did not stop until I opened the door, and there I find Emma, standing puffy-eyed and looking mad. At this point, she's saying that I have to apologize to her new boyfriend. Immediately, I told her I would not, and she insisted, so I did the same, telling her that he should be the one to apologize first. Well, she absolutely lost it. She starts screaming that I was going to ruin her best relationship so far, and that I was only doing it out of pure jealousy because I was still a single loser. Well, hearing that did sting like a bee, especially given the context, and I did my best to keep cool and try to end the conversation so I could go back to work. It didn't work. Her voice kept going up until my dad eventually came to check out what was happening, and why his darling daughter was screaming like a banshee. When she explained to him how selfish and immature I was being, he gets mad, and also started demanding that I do apologize to both my sister and her new boyfriend. Guys, at this point, I was tired. Tired. Not tired enough to give in and apologize to that jerk, but still enough to raise my voice back. I firmly told them both that Kevin is the wrong one of the story, not me, and that they also are if they're on his side. I also said that my mom's probably disappointed to not have the support of her husband and her only daughter. Well, I guess you could say neither of them took that very well. Emma ran to her room crying, and Dad looked like he wanted to slap me again, but ended up going after her instead. I went back to my room and broke down, sobbing, until someone knocked on my door. It was my mom. She starts to comfort me, and it only made me break down more because I felt that she was the main victim of the story, and that I should have been the one comforting her after the rest of her close family let her down. Not the other way around. But I felt small and weak to do anything at the moment, so I just left her comforting me until I calmed down. My consolation was very short-lived because quickly after, Dad and Emma start shouting again. It sounded like Father was begging, so Mom and I went to check what was going on. It was another new mess. Emma was carrying a big, really big, heavy-looking camping bag on her back and slowly waddling towards the door while Dad was pulling on the bag to stop her. Guys, it looked so comical. But I was in no mood to laugh. Mom asked what on earth was happening, and when they learned that Emma wanted to move in with Kevin and away from her selfish brother, yeah, she actually used fingers to quote for brother. Naturally, Dad was trying to stop her. And Mom tried to do the same while begging her to stay with us. Emma resisted for a while until she got fed up and pointed at me saying, "Fine, I will stay, but only if he either apologizes to Kevin or leaves the house. It's him or me. Choose." Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, she actually said that. I was surprised and disgusted that she would go that far, and my thoughts moved to my mouth so fast when I told her that she could go because I was not planning on picking either of her options. So Dad screams at me, and Mom tries to calm everybody down. It was a huge mess, but basically, Emma has left the house now and she's not picking up her phone, which worries both me and our parents, but I'm trying to tell myself that she's just with her best boyfriend so far. I'm trying to tell myself that she's an adult woman. I know she's my older sister after all, and that she can make her own darn choices and assume their consequences herself. I'm also trying to convince myself that it's not my fault. Some kind words in the comments would be, oh, so appreciated. Update number 2. Well, merry belated Christmas and happy belated New Year's, and sorry for the long absence. I'm back with some unexpected news. We found out Emma did not move in with Kevin. In fact, they're no longer together. Emma cuts us off after leaving the home, blocked us everywhere, and refused to pick up or answer when we tried to call her. We just assumed she was with Kevin, but none of us had his contact information to confirm whether she actually was with him or not. We tried looking for it, but we could not find it. So, we just tried entrusting the relationship. Even I tried, as I had no other choice. My relationship with my parents was tense, to say the least, after her departure. Obviously, Father was extremely mad at me and blamed everything on me. He didn't want to talk to me or even stay in the same room as me after Emma left. He just acted like I did not exist. As for Mom, it was more complicated. She didn't blame me for anything, but she was obviously heartbroken. So, she barely talked to anyone at all, including me and Dad, and I think it was more because she didn't know what to say than because she actually didn't want to. I sometimes walked in on her crying alone in a room. Even though she always pretended she wasn't, I won't lie. I felt very guilty. I even got mad at myself for being too petty and apologized at some point. If we've never learned what happened between them after she left, I'd still be blaming myself. Okay, so we even skipped the family's Christmas gathering that year. I'll try to assume that Emma was safe with Kevin and living a good life. At least, safe with him. However, I was out grocery shopping with Mom one day when we saw Kevin. I spotted him first and nudged Mother, so she looked. She looked as shocked and hopeful as we. And we both wanted to go up to him and ask how Emma was doing, but another girl came up to him, holding a product, and started chit-chatting. No big deal, we thought. She was probably either just a friend or, I don't know, someone that could come with him, or someone asking mistake for an employee. Asking for information on the items. Well, no, she was neither. She starts giggling after something he said and then gave him a peck on the lips. The way she did it and the way he responded left no room for doubt they were together. Mom looked hurt and confused while I was absolutely fuming. I wasn't in the mood to confront him about it, and it was his and Emma's personal life after all. But talking to him right then and there was my only chance to know where Emma was and how she was doing, so I just butted right in when they were giggling together. The guy was shocked to see me again, and the girl was just confused since she didn't know me. I cut straight to the chase. I asked him, how is Emma doing? He went from shocked to completely confused as well and asked me, why was I asking him that? The conversation went something like this, paraphrasing since I don't remember it word for word, but the meaning is still the same. Anyways, here it is. Well, she told us she was going to move in with you. She left the house with a huge bag and cut us all off. Didn't she go to your place? Oh, yeah, she did, but after the ruined Thanksgiving dinner with your family, I just decided to break things off and I started dating Sarah. I guess I either forgot to tell her or I told her and she forgot, but she rang my doorbell a couple months ago and Sarah opened the door for her. I heard them arguing and went to check what it was going on, and I explained to Sarah that she and I were no longer together. She tried to pick a fight, but she ended up leaving, and I think she said she'd go live with a friend. But I won't lie, I can't remember for the life of me the friend's name. He said all that as if it were no big deal, like, oh, yeah, I dumped your sister and got another girlfriend without telling her, and nobody even has an idea of where she is, or if she's alive. I just wanted to punch him right then and there. I didn't want to cause a scene in the middle of the supermarket and get myself in some trouble because of an idiot like Kevin. I just went back to Mom, who had heard the whole conversation and was tearing up again, and we agreed on leaving. Mom wanted to go straight to the police station to try to report Emma as missing, but I convinced her to first contact Emma's friends, whose contact we already had. I know nothing about reporting a missing person, but I wasn't sure whether the police would accept our report since Emma is an adult who left the house and cut off by choice. I assumed that even if they did, it would be an a-hole move and a hassle, so I wanted to try to save some time by checking with her friends first. So, we had the contact information of 4 of her friends. The first 3 sounded honest and shocked when they told us that they had no idea where she was or the fact that she even left the house in the first place. When we called the 4th friend, she didn't pick up at first and we just assumed that she was busy or didn't hear the phone ring. So we decided to go home and try again a bit later. We get home and both thought it was best to not tell Dad about what we found out just yet, and Mom called Emma's friend again, but she still did not answer. I felt like something at this point was wrong, so I told her to insist a bit. The 3rd time's a charm, right? Well, someone picked up and rudely asked, "What do you want?" It was Emma. I was right next to Mom, so I heard it. Mom was shocked that she was just silent for a little bit, and she wasn't replying. Emma hung up. I took the phone from Mom a bit more rudely than I would have liked, sorry Mom, and redialed the number. Emma picked up again and rudely says, "Listen, I'm not coming back home. Leave me alone or I'll block your number on this phone too." Then she hung up. I was tempted to call her again, but Mom talked me out of it since that number was basically our only way to contact Emma. And if she blocked us on it, we would probably never get to talk to her again. We should give her space. If she wants to talk to us again, she will. If she doesn't, we at least know that she's safe. So, it's better than nothing, Mom said. I still want to call her again, I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm still mad that she just put a jerk who easily dumped her before me. I'm also still worried about her because we grew up together, and our relationship was never that awful, so I easily worry about anyone I know. Anyways, I'm gonna do what Mom said and just give Emma some space. If she decides that she wants to come back or even just get in touch again, great. If not, well, she's an adult now. Anyways, I'd hate if someone I cut off, even family, tried to force themselves back into my life, even if they had good intentions. This is all I had to say, that Emma was actually not with Kevin, but that we at least know where she is now and have been talking to her. So yeah, she's alive and well. Aside from that, I don't have much else to say. What's up, everybody? One final update coming your way. This one did not come out for a long time, and I found it in the comment section. Update number 3, here it is. Hey guys, wow. A long time's passed since my last update, but guess what? Emma's back. This is not an April Fool's Day prank or anything like that. It's actually a happier update than the rest. As you know, Mom and I found out that my sister was most likely staying with a friend of hers, or at least that she had access to that friend's phone. We had decided to not tell Father about it. We knew that he'd probably barge into the friend's place to look for Emma and try to bring her back. Well, he didn't have to. A few days ago, it was his birthday. Mom and I knew that he would not want to celebrate given the circumstances, but we tried to at least buy him a gift, each a small cake. Nothing that would make us look insensitive about the situation, but we wanted to show him that we didn't forget about him despite the whole chaos and worry surrounding us. The special day rolls around. We didn't bother with no huge surprise or anything like that. We usually celebrate birthdays between just us, outside of parties with friends and the rest of the family, and after dinner, so we waited until everyone had finished eating and brought out the cake and our gift. Mom and I did not try hard to be festive or force him to cheer up, but we still put on smiles and wished him a happy birthday. He just says, "Thank you." We were eating the cake and we all just startled when someone suddenly rang the doorbell. Mom gets up to open the door and guys, I'll never forget her scream. You'd think someone handed her a winning lottery ticket or something. Not saying that my sister is worth less than a lottery ticket, but y'all know what I mean. Dad and I both dashed to the door to check what's going on, and guess what? There's Emma, standing in the doorway while Mom and her had a bear hug. I'm not even trying to write it dramatically on purpose. Blame my emotions for that. Dad was as confused as me. Confused is an understatement, especially when, unlike him, I heard Emma rudely and confidently say that she did not even want to talk to us again. Mom finally released Emma, who just smiled at Dad and said happy birthday. Even though Emma was probably trying to make her surprise visit about Dad's birthday, Mom immediately stopped questioning her about whether she'd eaten, whether she wanted to eat, and whether she wanted to move back in. She bombarded the poor girl and didn't even give Dad the opportunity to talk to Emma. I couldn't blame Mom. We had no idea how long Emma would stay, and that was the only contact we've had with her in months. Emma replied that she had not eaten, and she would love to eat with us, and that she indeed came to announce that she decided to move back in with us. Guys, it took us a while to process it. Again, Mom's brain had that zoomies, and she was the first one to react. She bear hugged Emma again and thanked her for coming back while sobbing in her daughter's shirt. Poor Emma looked embarrassed, and it serves her right, I'd say. Dad was the next to react. He just asked her whether she was serious or not, and he had no expression and didn't even sound happy or angry, so Emma looked nervous. Mom looked nervous too, and I felt the same. Still, Emma told him that she was serious, and he looked very happy. I'll spare you the rest of my mushy details of our reunion with my sister, but we ate the rest of the cake with Emma and asked her to tell us what happened while she was away and why she suddenly came back. Well, buckle up. Here's the story. The beginning is that Kevin told us is true. Emma had assumed that Kevin would happily let her move in with him, so she had not bothered to contact him first to ask. She showed up at his place, and another girl opened the door for her. They fought, and Kevin explained to her that he had replaced her because of the Thanksgiving dinner accident. Emma was heartbroken and had nowhere to go. She still did not want to come back home, though. She apparently considered spending a few nights in a shelter. In the end, though, she decided to first try to crash at a friend's place, at least until she found a better alternative. That's how she ended up moving to that fourth friend's place. Her friend was apparently very nice and supportive, and she was the one who told her that we were calling her number and offered to let her take us. Emma also told us that the friend was the one who convinced her to come back after Emma confessed that she missed us, but was too scared to admit that she was in the wrong. That's how Emma came back as a birthday gift to our dad, who was crying for the first time, at least from what I can remember. Emma ends up moving back with us, and I also learned something else that really blew my mind. She became a freelancer too during that time. She likes poetry, so she became a freelance poetry ghostwriter to try to make a little bit of extra cash so she would not be a burden to her friend. She doesn't make much yet, but I'm glad we have something in common and that she can agree that I do have a real job. That's all I have to say, my dudes. Sister's back, family life are mostly back to normal, although there's still some awkwardness when a family member asks why Emma broke up with Kevin, as they don't know the whole story since we opted out of the celebrations between Emma's departure and her return. Dad and Emma are firmly against telling them. Mom doesn't want to anger either of them or get flooded with complicated questions, and while I frankly don't care much about what anyone else will say, I'm also not feeling like creating more family drama than we had in the past months. Anyways, I'm happy with the way things are right now and trying to tell myself that the past is the past. I hope you guys appreciated reading this more than I enjoyed writing it. See you later, guys. Thanks for all the support. Kevin has to be one of the most arrogant, entitled jerks that I've seen in these stories in quite some time. I mean, who comments on the turkey the second you see their family for the first time? That part was blowing my mind, but what was even crazier? The brother, aka OP of the story, was basically the only one who stood up to this jerk. You would think that the mom and dad would stand up as well, but hey, I don't know. Let me ask you guys, what would you do if this new boyfriend came to your Thanksgiving dinner and you were in OP's position and he just starts back-mouthing your mom and dad like that, saying stuff about her eyes looking weird or whatever it was he said, the bags under her eyes? How would you handle this situation? Guys, drop your comments down below. Thank you so much for joining me on today's stories. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.